fairly quickly now. May I have a motion for item R1, adoption of ordinance 9022, amending Title II, Chapter 17 of the Evanston City Code to allow for members of the Reparations Committee to receive benefits from the Reparations Fund.
So moved.
Is there a second? A second moved by Councilmember Burns, seconded by Councilmember Nusma. I will open this up maybe to Nick to give a quick 1 or 2 minute just explanation. I think it's pretty straightforward. But
good evening, Councilmember Reed, members of the Rules Committee, Nicholas Cummings, Corporation Counsel. This ordinance was something that staff had been sort of kicking around with the previous subcommittee. And then now when the committee became permanent, or I should say the transition between the subcommittee to the new committee, where we were now introducing members from the community to be a part of the committee, if there were members on the committee that served on members of the community that served on the committee that could potentially be eligible, that they needed a way to actually be able to take part in the benefit, because right now it would potentially be a conflict of interest for them to receive the benefit. The way around it currently is if for some reason one of the members was selected to receive the benefit, they would have to recuse themselves from the committee and they could still receive the benefit. But I just, wanted to make sure that it was clear that in case someone who was eligible did receive the benefit, there would not be any sort of ambiguity as to whether it was an inappropriate gift to receive for someone who would be qualified as like an ancestor, like one of the members of the committee currently is, or as a descendant, as a couple other members of the committee are.
Thank you, Nick. Council, not that I expect you to have anything, but Councilman Braithwaite, if you want to say anything, feel free to. Otherwise, if there are no questions, I think.
I just want to thank our staff, Nick, for working on this. There are 3 of us that serve on the committee, and the member that you're referring to is Carlos Sutton. And I would just say, I don't know if Mr. Sutton is on the line. The value that he brings as an ancestor has truly been appreciated on the committee. He is wise in his words, and he does bring a high level of legitimacy to the work that he does, because he brings that senior perspective. So I would hate, because of the color of his skin and any other reasons, that we would, based on our rules, create a barrier for him to take place. So thank you, Nick, and your department for crafting this. And I'm hoping that this will pass unanimously through our Rules Committee. Thank you, Councilmember Reed.
Yeah, thank you. I actually just have one question. I'm fully supportive of this. I think, again, given the specific thing here, given that it's reparations, and of course you want people who are affected to serve on the Reparations Committee. That would exclude just about every Black person in the city from serving on the committee, or they have to forego, being repaired. I do wonder if, and this is for maybe a separate time, but just to ensure that state law would not prohibit, an ancestor who serves on the committee receiving this. So I'm happy to update our local code, but just to double check to make sure we're not putting anyone in trouble with state law, because I have a bit of apprehension about that. But
I definitely, it's an excellent question or excellent point, Councilmember Reed. Generally speaking, the state law applies to those of us who are officers of the city or elected officials. But I will definitely look into it for those who serve on boards, commissions, and committees of municipalities to see if those state laws apply to them. Generally speaking, our ethics ordinance, when it comes to benefits and gifts, tracks the state code, but I will double check and make sure that's not an issue.
Okay, thank you. With that, it's been moved and seconded, and I don't. Apologies.
There were a couple of people that had hands raised.
Oh, my apologies. I did not see the hands. Councilmember Kelly. I think that's it.
I'm just wondering if there isn't any other sort of, I'm a little uncomfortable with this. Of course, Peter, your words, I agree, but just the format and the structure of this makes me uncomfortable. Is there any way that this can be modified to such an extent sort of going forward? So when people join this committee, that this isn't the case going forward, that you join and you're a recipient of, such an award. I think, the whole reparations process has been very exciting, and I can understand how this was not really thought out at the beginning. And so now here we are, and we don't want to preclude, like Mr. Sutton. But I'm just wondering if there's not some way to do this so that new members, and I don't know, Nick, if there's some way to word this so that I just feel like this shouldn't be a thing now.
I certainly agree. And this really only came up with some urgency because of the drawing last week. Mm-hmm. And at this point, I believe there's still just numbers. There's very few people who actually know who was associated with those numbers. So I don't know who's received an award. Mm-hmm. I'm definitely open for suggestions on how another way to make this happen. But to Councilmember Reed's point, you kind of want people who are affected in the community to be able to participate in the committee. And right now, the alternative is they just can't vote on to recommend the award, right? They would have to recuse themselves from any vote to send to city council to approve the payment. Similar to, mm-hmm. Councilmember Suffredin recusing himself when the Amazon stuff comes up, or Councilmember Newsom recusing himself when Gallagher Bassett comes up. So, that's how it would have to work now. And the problem is the way that it's structured and the way that the committee has designed it. We don't know who gets an award just yet. So they could vote to say the next meeting, I believe, is Thursday, the 2nd or 3rd of February. The committee could vote to say, these are the 16 people that were drawn. We need to send this to city council to approve payment. We still don't know who that is, and it could include Mr. Sutton, for example, and he voted on it, and he probably shouldn't have, but we don't know who's an awardee. So I'm open to suggestions on how to make this better. But this was the first instance, was to say, this award is not a gift under the ethics code, period. Like, they should be able to participate and it not be considered a gift and not considered, a conflict of their duties as on the committee, because we want people who are actually impacted or have been impacted to have some input on how this money should be spent serving on the committee.
Right.
But I'm open to suggestions. This is not like, mm-hmm. This is the only avenue. It's just, this was what we actually came up with this last spring, but we were focused on actually trying to fashion the program. And so this ordinance did not get passed. And once the committee got to the point where they were ready to give awards, I said, wait a minute, we still need to do this.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay. Right. No, I can see that it's complicated to make, like you say, to have that important participation of those that would be recipients having a voice on the committee. So I understand the dilemma.
And I think I'm up next, right, Chair? Chair.
I did not realize I was muted. Yes, go ahead. Sorry.
And I just wanted to underscore the point that it is it's fundamental. Like it is. Some would argue that even the way the committee is arranged now is imperfect, in that I'm not sure if every member would be considered an ancestor or a descendant, because I think at least one member may not be, but it's fundamental. It's important that it's necessary. It's important. It's fundamental that in reparations, no matter which parties it injures, that they have a role in determining the harm and determining how the program is implemented. I think one thing that's different also is that the selection process is not done by the committee. It's so far it's been a random process, selection process that the committee, the committee did not select the individual recipients, and then I'm not even quite sure that the committee has to officially approve the recipients because the process does that. So we might need to give some general direction, but I would counsel Cummins if you can look into that. I don't think the committee has to officially approve what happened at Fleetwood. I think that could really just go straight to council. And so I'd like some feedback on that, whether or not that's the case.
Regardless, if I can just say, regardless of that fact, the gift ban and the ethics, our internal ethics code would still need to be addressed. And so I think this does that. Sorry, Council Cummings.
That's fine. I think Councilmember Braithwaite can address the random choice. I think it was done that way primarily because we have more people who are eligible than funding available. So as to be fair in who we actually provide benefits to, it was done as a random process instead of like this committee screening and actually voting to pick people.
And if I may, in the interest of time, I think there seems to be a consensus around this, I think those questions maybe don't, or those answers wouldn't get at the heart of what Councilmember Kelly's concern is. Democratic rule is we don't need everyone to agree. So I would really entertain, just so we can get done with the meeting, moving forward with this, if everyone is okay with that.
I would still like to respond to my question, but I'm fine.
Go ahead.
That being offline, that could be offline. I don't think I'm not.
We're taking up at our next committee meeting.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. Well, with that, is Dart still here, or I'll just call the roll? Dart hopefully is home. Councilmember Kelly.
Aye.
Councilmember Braithwaite.
Aye.
Councilmember Newsma.
Aye.
I feel my court days again. Councilmember Braithwaite. I'm sorry, Councilmember Burns. I meant to say Burns.
Aye.
Councilmember Suffredin. Is he here? Okay. Councilmember Revelle.
Aye.
Myself, aye. And then Mayor Biss.
Aye.
Okay. Well, the ayes have it. I want to quickly move through the agenda. The next thing on the agenda is R2.